both sides of it. So.
I said earlier that that your and George's work has actually been borrowed, stolen by a lot of people who have sought to purvey themselves as the people who have come up with the October 7th date. And it's amusing to see that kind of thing. And I guess, you know, you just take it with a grain of salt like we all do in this business and laugh.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is your work has spawned, not the careers certainly, but given a lot of people in this business, the Internet business, a lot of ground to stand on. And I hope that all of you listening will support Clif and George because they are the originators. They are the people who have put 10 years into this, and it's halfpasthuman.com.
And urbansurvival.com.
In urbansurvival.com as well. Back in just a couple. Okay, and we're back. George and Clif, halfpasthuman.com. All right, gentlemen, we are now getting close. 9:30 Pacific time, they're about. We're looking at 12:10 a.m. Pacific time for some turning point that causes the beginning of release language in your data. And this is something we want to point out that didn't just arrive in your database and raw data in the last couple of weeks. This has been going on for a long time. When did this building language begin?
I started in, I think, very early February of this year.
That's a long time ago.
It's a very long period. We usually see building language lasting for a few weeks. At one point we had some pretty straight-up stuff that lasted for 72 days, and that was pretty exceptional. That was when we first got into the credit crisis, the first 72 days of the crisis after the Fed made a move on September 18th. We thought it would start on the 19th, but it started on the 18th, lasted 72 days up. And that was the longest we'd ever had sustained anything before. Right. Usually it's a few days up, few days down, that kind of thing. So very exceptional what we're headed into. And it's probably going to start in a few hours, so I'm thinking, well, okay, it may start in Asia, it might start in Europe, maybe a futures market will crack, or a major currency will fail, or another bankruptcy will emerge, and then it'll just start cascading from there. We have no way of knowing, no expectation of how rapid or how.
The point I want to make, though, release language is not healing or curing or assuaging language at all. It can be contrary to that.
It's the release of emotion that, it's just how terrible, my life is ruined, all my money is gone, I'm going to fling myself out the window. Those are all examples of release language.
Right. Yeah. Well, we just had a case tonight, Jeff, where if you look on Drudge, there's a headline, gunman kills self, 5 kids over financial woes.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of flavor. I've just been sitting here doodling on a spreadsheet, and the global markets since last Friday have dropped about 5% overall. I have an index that I put up on the Urban Survival site called the Global Index. And this is something that's so obvious to me that I'm shocked that the mainstream media does not have an equivalent. All I did was I equally weighted the British market, the U.S., the Japanese, Hong Kong, France, Germany, and Australia, and made one number out of it so I could see, whether global optimism is going up or going down. And right now it's down a little over 5% in just one trading day.
Right.
And it was down 5% last week. So globally, things are on the skids, but it's not yet translating until we get through this adjustment period where we flip over into release language. And I would say probably it may be as late as Thursday before it'll be obvious to the masses that we flipped, unless it's a singular event that happens tomorrow.
And even then, a singular event that would cascade for 6 months seems unlikely. So if it is a singular event, it's going to be a smaller one that really kicks us off, and then we'd start rolling. Yeah.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I do get emails from people saying, "Oh, the release language means it's over." I say, no.
No.
Yeah, it means your gut clenching and fear is over, but now it's because it's manifest.
That's right.
Whatever you were afraid of is here, and you've got to deal with it.
Here's the very latest from Reuters, Hong Kong. Panic about how the U.S. and European governments have not yet found a solution. Well, funniest thing. So the plague sweeping through the global financial system hit the Asian stocks again on Tuesday and lifted gold prices. The South Korean won dropped 5.7% to the lowest in more than 7 years against the U.S. dollar as investors focused on the country's relatively high levels of debt, despite assurances from the government that Asia's fourth largest economy was not facing a currency crisis.
There's an important dynamic about gold here, which is really fascinating to me because I do trading once in a while for my own account, and that is that the price of gold would have gone up dramatically, except that a lot of the hedge funds are finding that they have to unwind profitable gold positions to cover losses in other areas.
So they're selling off a lot of gold, and that's bringing the price down?
Yeah. Or keep containing it. And at the same time, the real powers that be seem to be acquiring gold. The European sales of gold have been extremely light. So someplace there are big players that are loading up on it.
Well, you saw what the Fed owns in the underground vault in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Gigantic store of gold.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well, yeah.
But relatively, we have to acknowledge that if we were to go to a gold-based currency, there's 4 billion ounces that have been extracted from the planet, not all of them available to us for various different reasons, sunk in ocean and this kind of thing, so there's less than 1 ounce of gold per person on the planet. I love going back to people like Buckminster Fuller who did resource analysis and played with all of these kind of numbers because it makes a lot of sense. At less than 1 ounce, well, we're all going to have to share. And these people that are hoarding all of this, you know, the Fed, which is a private consortium of basically, as Bush would say, evildoers, although he'll never apply that term to himself because he's not self-aware or even self-analyzing, as most of these people are not. They are the ones that are causing the problem and the suffering that's going to occur. And we can stop this. We can stop this in a nonviolent way by opting out of the system en masse and tending to our own needs and tending to the needs of our neighbors in a manner that does not involve us with the corporatocracy. The minute we remove our approval from them, we are like Gandhi telling the British, you will walk out of here because you cannot garrison a country of millions with a few 100,000. No. And the same is true of the powers that be. They cannot garrison a planet of billions without our consent. The minute we stop consenting to this, and it may mean that a lot of people will have to die for their integrity, and that I see coming in the data.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, I mean, death is the exit that we all go through, and you got to get your karma straight. And if it's your time and you decide that that's your integrity, then in my case it'd be like, well, it's worth it. You know, really kowtow to these toads.
The really hard thing for a lot of people, Jeff, will be awakening to the idea that they have been hypnotized at a very fundamental level. The whole notion of status, you know, in American history classes when
toys, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we look back at the sale of Manhattan for a box of beads, and yet we'll work 100 hours a week to get a shiny new Beamer.
Sure.
You know, this is progress.
Well, our priorities are so.
Yeah, those sparklies. Yeah, just a bunch of
sparklies. Gotta have.
You know,
that's why you need pie. That's why you need pie.
We're going to talk about pie in a minute. The road to freedom begins, ladies and gentlemen, when you turn the television off, believe me. I'm not being facetious. You've got to break that horrible tool of oppression, subjugation, programming, and mind control. And you've got to start thinking on your own. That's the key. The greatest mesmerizer in history. Back in a minute. Let's talk a little pie with our friends as we continue. Okay, and we're back. It is the end of, well, some fruit pies, but pumpkin pie season is upon us. Pumpkin pie season runs all the way through, of course, the Christmas holidays. We like pies around here, but George and Cliff really like pies.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the be-all and end-all. On the other side, yes, go ahead.
I say it's a nice form of encapsulated calories, and it takes the edge off when you're dealing with what is otherwise rather depressing information all the time. So
it's a must.
And properly done, there's very little sucrose, lots of good healthy fructose, some vitamin C, Just really good
Well,
balance.
it's either that or Valium.
Or vodka.
Pies are probably cheaper too, so yeah.
Way cheaper.
Vitamin V. Okay, but food, that's another thing. We've talked a long time about food preparedness, and as we see more and more Americans hitting the tents, hitting the streets, literally, sleeping in their cars, this winter is coming, and we've been saying for months it's going to be a long winter. But above and beyond that, all this talk about 2012, gentlemen, continues. And if a populace was ever ripe to be really strung out on something through clever manipulation through the media, it's this population, and it's through this government or this cabal. And it doesn't matter who wins the election, it's the same string pullers at the top. 2012, of course, is supposedly the end of the Mayan calendar, which signifies the beginning of a new age, or the end of a current age. Now, I've said for years